Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Geek Report. For this episode, we will be looking at the geek news that dropped for the weeks of January 26th through February 9th, 2026. So let's look at the news in the worlds of TV, movies, anime, and gaming.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the newest episode of the Geek Report for the weeks of January 26th through February 9th of 2026. We've got a few news items to talk about, so let's get started. So first off, we're going to start off in our movie and TV segment. And really the only item we have this week is the new announcement that Sam Raimi is rebooting Darkman. Now, Darkman was one of those movies that fell through the cracks in the 90s, but was still a gem in the rough, and it was still a really good movie. And we're going to kind of talk about this for a minute, and I'm just going to give you some of my overall impressions of it. Then we move on into our anime segment. And we got some news this week that Farming Life in Another World dropped the trailer for season 2. We're going to take a look at the trailer, and I'm just going to give you some overall thoughts and opinions on what I'm seeing for not only season 2, but also the announced release date of April 2026. Then we're going to move on into our gaming news segment, and we're going to talk about the newest release from Battlestate Games. This past 2 weeks, they released a very cryptic trailer for a game they're calling Core. COR3. They released not only an interactive website, but a trailer for this. We're going to take a look at the trailer, and I'm going to give you my overall thoughts and opinions on what I'm seeing here. So sit back, relax, grab yourself something to eat, grab yourself something to drink, and let's look at the Geek Report for the weeks of January 26th through February 9th of 2026.
Now, let's begin our Geek Report in our TV and movie segment. So, let's see what big news dropped in the past 2 weeks in the world of TV, movies, and anime.
So, our first news story in our movie and TV segment is a news story that kind of harkens back to some of the movies of the 90s, because it is a reboot from a movie from the 90s. Now, in the 90s, you had a lot of superhero films coming out. I mean, you had the Tim Burton Batman films. You had the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. The X-Men films with Bryan Singer. But you also had small superhero films that kind of slipped through the cracks. One of them was The Phantom. You know, The Phantom was a great movie. Another one is, which is one of my all-time favorite superhero films, is The Shadow with Alec Baldwin. That one I absolutely love. But there was another one that starred Liam Neeson, and it didn't get a whole lot of traction. And the name of that movie was Darkman. Now, if you've never heard of Darkman, don't be surprised, because not many people have. But I've seen Darkman and its 2 sequels, Darkman 2 and Darkman 3. And they are some great movies. Okay, Darkman 2 and 3 kind of lowered the bar a little bit. But the first Darkman was a gritty, street level type of superhero film that kind of mixed in this need for revenge and justice with a person's willingness to help others. Well, now Sam Raimi, the guy behind the original Spider-Man movies of the 90s, is bringing it back. And he's doing a reboot of Darkman, which I'm kind of thrilled about, to be honest. And this is coming from comicbookmovie.com. And it says that Sam Raimi has been promising Darkman fans an update on the reboot for years, but the movie has finally taken shape with the addition of Don't Move Helmer's Brian Netto and Adam Schindler. Now, I didn't see Don't Move, so I don't really know where they're coming from in terms of that. But it says here, promoting Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, Sam Raimi revealed that Universal is talking about a Darkman sequel. We now know that's going to be a reboot. We've heard very little since then, but it seems work is finally moving forward on the reboot. According to Dread Central, Don't Move directors Brian Netto and Adam Schindler Raimi produced the hit Netflix thriller, are on board to helm Darkman for Ghost House Pictures. It says, before producing Don't Move, Raimi worked with Neto and Schiller on QB's 50 States of Fright in 2024. So it says here that before producing Don't Move, Raimi worked with Neto and Schiller on QB's 50 States of Fright in 2024. The duo said that Darkman was their dream project. If we're talking Sam related, it's Darkman. We've talked about Darkman with him. We've got love and affinity for Darkman. Neto added, Darkman was my favorite film for a good portion of my life. It was the movie, so Darkman would be really interesting. Earlier this month, Raimi alluded to Neto and Schindler being on board to develop Darkman. When he told Movies Web, Ghost House Pictures, the company I work with, is trying to make Darkman right now. We have a script, 2 great directors, but we still have some difficulties with financing. It always happens the same in the movie business. And I think the reason behind that is simple. Is because Hollywood has been burned so many times, they don't want to make another mistake. Especially on a reboot of a movie that really didn't catch traction. Okay. And it says here, as you may recall, the 1990 movie was Raimi's first crack at the superhero genre and his debut studio movie after working on the Evil Dead franchise. And boasted an impressive cast led by Liam Neeson, who was absolutely great as Peyton Westlake, and Frances McDormand, and saw the former play Dr. Peyton Westlake, a scientist turned master of disguise, who embarked on a mission of vengeance after being left horribly disfigured by the mob. Darkman was one of those rare gems in the 90s that no one caught on to. Okay? I absolutely loved Darkman. Okay? Now, did I love it as much as The Shadow? No. But I absolutely loved Darkman. Okay? And it was one of those movies that kind of slipped through the cracks that no one really caught wind of. Okay? That you really didn't watch. Alright? Unless you were like into superheroes. And back then, I really was into superheroes, into comic books and stuff like that. And Darkman just kind of slipped through the cracks. In between the Batman films with Tim Burton and the Spider-Man Sam Raimi films and the Bryan Singer X-Men films, you had Darkman, you had the Phantom, you had the Shadow, and it's kind of sucks that happened because Darkman was this gritty, almost horror type of superhero film. Okay? I mean, you've got a scientist, Peyton Westlake, and he is disfigured by the mob and nearly killed by the mob because he refuses to leave his lab. And he gets revenge on all those who killed him by using his invention, this type of skin that can be created in a lab, and the ability to alter his voice. Somehow, some way, he's able to alter his voice after the accident, and he basically turns the mob against each other. Okay? And it's such a great one of those great films. Okay? But it just did not pick up enough traction. And I'm really hoping this does pick up traction, that this does go forward, that they do keep that grittiness with it and stuff. Because honestly, if this is successful, then I have hope that they'll bring The Shadow to theaters, that they'll bring The Phantom to theaters. Okay? So, yeah, I'm totally down with this. I want to see a trailer, though, because whenever you're talking Hollywood, whenever you're talking about like Hollywood and reboots and stuff, there's always that fear in the back of my mind. Okay? I mean, there's always that fear that they're going to go and add a bunch of nonsense to this. And I really don't want them to. Now look, Sam Raimi is a great director. He did the original Darkman, okay? He did the Spider-Man films, okay? He did Evil Dead. He did the original Darkman, okay? So I have a lot of hope in Sam Raimi, okay? And I know there's probably been other stuff that he's done. Maybe I've just not seen it or whatnot. But yeah, I have a lot of hope in Sam Raimi, okay? And I'm hoping that somehow, some way, they're able to bring back Liam Neeson. Okay, I think that would be really cool, and it would get those people who did watch Darkman kind of wanting to see what they're going to do with the reboot. But whenever you're talking about Hollywood, you have to be worried about, or at least concerned about, them adding political nonsense to it. And I really hope they don't do it. But I have a lot of hope for this, because if they do this right and they get successful with this, then maybe we can get traction on a reboot or a rehash of The Shadow. Get traction on a rehash of The Phantom, as well as other properties that maybe didn't even get on screens back in the 90s, that maybe people are kind of looking towards and said, you know what, this ain't working, let's try this. So yeah, I'm totally down with this. I think this is a great idea, especially with Sam Raimi behind it. Okay. But back to what I was saying, Sam Raimi is doing a Darkman reboot, and he's got the Don't Move filmmakers behind him. No word yet on if Liam Neeson is going to be joining this, but this is something I am going to be keeping my eye on in the near future. But I want to see a trailer first before I get truly excited, because it's Hollywood and they have a tendency of adding nonsense when it doesn't need to be.
Now let's move on from the world of TV and movies to the world of anime. So let's take a look at the anime news that piqued my interest these past 2 weeks.
Now, our final story in our movie and TV segment for this 2 weeks comes from anime. This past 2 weeks, we got a trailer for Season 2 of Farming Life in Another World. Now, I really enjoyed Farming Life in Another World, and I am someone who usually watches like action anime, like Robotech or Hellsing or Gundam Wing, okay? But Farming Life in Another World really appealed to me, okay? I really like it because it mixed the world of farming, of growing things, with being isekai'd into this other world that has angels and dragons and elves and humans and all that stuff, okay? And I really enjoyed this one. This was one of those anime that you could just sit back, watch, and enjoy, okay? So, we got a new trailer, and we got a release date with this trailer. So let's check out the trailer, and I'll give you some of my thoughts and opinions on it. Now, I do have to say, the trailer is in Japanese. They have not released an English trailer yet, but I'm going to keep looking for one. But anyway, here is the trailer for Farming Life in Another World Season 2.
のんびり農業して暮らしたい。俺は念願の異世界農家生活を始めた。みんなで作った。
Now here we have a picture of the elves. And these here are the forest elves, but there's also what they call mountain elves in this village as well. I mean, he assembled a whole bunch of different people in Season 1. Okay, I mean, he got vampires, he got dragons who can transform into humans, he got forest elves, he got mountain elves, which would be classified as dark elves. So we're already seeing that everyone we saw from the first season is coming back. And there is the great tree. That's what they named their village. What Hiraku, the main character of the story, named the village they're now calling the Great Tree Village. Now there is his wife Lou. Okay. And you can't really see it, but if you look down in like the bottom right corner, you can see that she's holding a baby. At the end of Season 1, Hiraku and Lou had a baby. Okay? They had a baby, in the Great Tree Village. Now, like I said before, you can't really see him all that well, but his name is Alfred. Okay? And he was born in the Great Tree Village, and he's a half human, half a vampire. He's Hiraku's son and Lou's son, who's also a vampire. So we're probably going to be seeing more of them raising Alfred. And you can't really help but like the song, okay? That upbeat song, you can't really help it. Now, this here is Lou's sister. I can't remember her name, but she was like a scientist, and she liked making things that blow up, so yeah. Now, this is a new character for Season 2. He was not in Season 1. Okay, so apparently we're getting some new characters. These look like centaurs. These also were not in Season 1. So we're not only getting Gordon, which we saw just a second ago, and let me see if I can't get back to get him. So we're getting Gordon. He looks like an ogre. We're also getting centaurs. Now, these look like nymphs or some type of forest spirit or something along those lines. But they don't look very spirit, so I'm kind of wondering if there's something else. But apparently they bring along a stump that, by all accounts, looks like it's somehow connected to the great tree, at the center of the village. And that right there, you see him using the miraculous tree tool that he has. Basically, he can take this tool and make it anything he wants needed to make a farm. Okay, and whatever he uses it on, it grows. Okay, so he could put cherry blossoms down and they'll grow. He could put apple trees down, they'll grow. Wheat, whatever. Okay, whatever he uses the miraculous farming tool on, it grows, no matter what type of soil it's in. Here we see a picture of the Dark Elves, and in the very back, it's kind of hard to see, we also see a lizard man. He was from Season 1 as well. So the Dark Elves and the lizard men were also from Season 1. And there we've got it coming in 2026. It's coming to Prime Video. So that's what we got for Farming Life in Another World Season 2, the trailer. Let me say that the trailer looks dope. Okay, it looks like they're keeping the pacing of the original series, the original season of it, with not only laughter and just like slice of life and isekai, but just basically what we come to expect from Season 2. They're continuing off where Season 2 ended. Alfred was born, Hiraku and Lou and the rest of them were growing so fast that they actually need to build another village to house everyone. We're getting new characters like Gordon and the centaurs. I'm kind of wondering how the dragons are going to play into this, because you saw Lasty transform, so I'm kind of wondering if something's going on with them. The centaurs, and if I can go back to them, for some reason the centaurs look angry. Okay? And I don't know why, but they look angry. So I'm wondering if Hiraku somehow either did something. Maybe he put the Great Tree Village where it wasn't supposed to be. Maybe he chopped down something. I don't know. But for some reason, they look angry. But I don't think that's going to stick. Because later on in the trailer, we saw them actually helping out in the village. So I'm kind of wondering if they're not blaming him for something or something along those lines. But I think the most curious thing of all is these ladies right here. Okay? Because they got what appears to be a stump of some tree that apparently is able to talk. So I'm kind of wondering what their deal is. Okay? I mean, they don't look like elves. They don't look like humans. So I'm kind of wondering if they aren't dryads. Okay? We've seen dryads in other anime, like that time I got reincarnated as a slime, where they basically worship the forest and protect it and all that. So I'm kind of wondering if perhaps, Hiraku is either offering them sanctuary like he did with the elves, or if perhaps he did something that he's got to make up for. Because later on in the trailer, we see the tree stump basically planted and kind of beginning to sprout flowers and stuff. So I'm kind of wondering if perhaps they don't need his help, or if perhaps he did something that he wasn't supposed to. And finally, we got a release date. It's coming in 2026, April of 2026. Absolutely perfect time. You get a start on not only the summer rush, but, people are getting out of school. It's that time of year where people just want to chill, have fun for the summer. And this is a good way to do it. So, yeah, perfect time, in my opinion, to drop another anime. But I'm kind of wondering about how it's all going to fit in, because not only do we have this coming, we've got Black Clover coming back, and we also got Saga of Tanya the Evil. So I'm kind of wondering how this is going to kind of squeeze in between those two big releases. But anyway, that was the trailer for Farming Life in Another World. It's coming out this April 2026. This is one of those anime that you really don't have to... It ain't action-oriented, okay? This is like a chill anime, slice of life, isekai anime that you can just sit down and just chill to, okay? It's not like galactic stuff going on. There's not giant robots flying around. I mean, the most you get is angels and lizard men and elves and maybe dryads and centaurs. It's got that fantasy element to it, but it's doing something so grounded where it's just farming. Okay, the only difference is it's doing it in another world. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to check this out when it comes out this April. I'm going to at least try to check it out. It's coming on Prime Video, so I don't know how I would be able to check it out unless I got Prime Video. But yeah, I can't wait for this to come out. It's going to be a chill anime. I just hope that it ain't forgotten behind the big releases of Black Clover and Saga of Tanya the Evil Season 2.
Now moving on, let's move on to this episode's video game segment. So, let's see what news dropped in the past 2 weeks in the world of video games.
Continuing on, let's continue on into our gaming news segment. And we got some huge news this past 2 weeks. That's really the only bit of gaming news we got. If you've never heard of Battlestate Games, then perhaps you've heard of really the only game they've come out with, which is Escape from Tarkov. It is one of the biggest extraction shooters out there. In fact, it has set the bar for so many extraction shooters out there. Whether you're talking about Call of Duty's DMZ, Arc Raiders, so many others. This past week, or I should say these past 2 weeks, they dropped a new preview trailer for a game they're calling Core. And it don't even have like an official logo yet. It's just got a website. Okay? That's literally all it's got, is just a website. Alright? Where you can go and find out a little bit about the lore and whatnot. So we're going to focus on the trailer, and I'm going to show you the trailer they dropped these past 2 weeks. And I'm going to give you some of my own impressions of it. But what you're seeing here is the first official trailer for the upcoming game from Battlestate Games, Core. Okay, already the game looks beautiful. Okay. And I'm kind of curious what we're seeing here. Because they're known for Escape from Tarkov. Okay. And already I'm getting real Escape from Tarkov vibes here. See, that's another thing. You see a guy kind of flying in. Okay, now I'm not saying this game won't be a single-player game or it won't have some type of single-player component. But already I'm just seeing shades of Escape from Tarkov. Okay, already I'm seeing another Escape from Tarkov. Now, this is something interesting because I think this is telling us that there won't just be a first-person mode, there could be a third-person mode, which is going to be very interesting. And we're going to be seeing drones in this, and I guess we shouldn't be really surprised by that. With the prevalence of drones everywhere nowadays, I shouldn't be surprised by that. Now, I'm looking at this, and what I'm seeing is another extraction map. So what I'm seeing, and maybe what I'm feeling, is perhaps we are getting another extraction shooter from Escape from Tarkov people, from Battlestate Games. And that kind of begs the question, what happens to Escape from Tarkov? Okay. I mean, are they getting ready to close out Escape from Tarkov and move on to Core? That's kind of going through my mind because I just can't really see them doing both Escape from Tarkov and Core. Two games in the same genre. So either Core is going to be a completely different game or Escape from Tarkov is going to be shut down. That's kind of what I'm thinking and seeing right now. Okay, based on what I'm seeing here, this is supposed to be some type of futuristic Mars. Okay, so I'm wondering if we ain't playing on Mars just like we would in Escape from Tarkov, where you gotta go down and loot and shoot and survive in a city that's collapsed on the Martian surface. Okay, but so far I'm loving what I'm seeing. Okay. Now, this has kind of got me interested also because could we be perhaps having some type of space combat thing going on where you jump into whatever this city is, right? This area. And there's a place where you can launch and fight in space. Could we perhaps be seeing that? Or could we perhaps be seeing a mode where you fight in space, where you try to hijack, other units' spacecraft and carriers and whatnot? Could we be doing with that? And that's the end of the trailer right there. That's all we getting for what they're calling Core. So really not a whole lot there. But what is there looks pretty incredible. I mean, you've got a city on Mars that apparently looks like it's gone through some type of destruction, completely destroyed. You've got either a first person or a third person view. You've got drones, what looks to be Escape from Tarkov in space. You've got perhaps space battles where you can actually hijack and fight people in 0G, which looks incredible. This is a really good way to start stuff, but it's still very early on. Okay? And this kind of does beg the question, if they are doing another extraction shooter like they did with Escape from Tarkov, what does this mean for Tarkov? What does this mean for Escape from Tarkov? Are they getting ready to shut down Escape from Tarkov and focus on core? What's what they're calling core? That's what I'm seeing here. Is core somehow going to be a sequel to Escape from Tarkov? There's a lot of question with this. And based on that, it's a good trailer because it makes people ask those questions and want to find out more about this game. Okay? But that was the trailer for Core. That's what I got from it. No release date, no beta, no nothing. It's just a trailer and an interactive website. You can see it on the screen. You can go and check it out yourself. I don't know what to think of it at this time because it's still so early on. They've got the lore over on the website. You can read a whole lot of lore. They've got what looks to be a beautiful trailer. Okay, just absolutely beautiful trailer. And they've got a lot of questions that fans are kind of curious about, like what type of combat are we going to be seeing? What perspective are we going to be seeing? And it does look like it's bringing a lot of those Escape from Tarkov elements to space. Okay, so yeah, absolutely great first trailer, but the question remains, what does this mean for Escape from Tarkov? And is there going to be a single player component to this? And there's a whole list of other questions that are needing to be answered. So before I really start keeping my eyes on this, I want to learn more before I really say, yeah, let's keep our eyes on this one. Well, everyone, that was your Geek Report for the weeks of January the 26th through February 9th of 2026. To kind of review what we all talked about, we first started off in our movie and TV segment, and we talked about the news that Sam Raimi is bringing back the 1990s film Darkman, that he's rebooting it. Now, he worked on the first one, but now he's rebooting it with some new directors, and I talked about both the good and the bad aspects of this. Then we moved on into our anime segment. And we talked about the new trailer for Farming Life in Another World Season 2. This is actually the first trailer for this anime. And we also got a release date of April 2026. I kind of showed you the anime, talked about it a little bit, and overall gave you my impressions of it. Then in our final segment, which is gaming, we talked about the new game from Battlestate Games, which is what they're calling Core or COR 3. I showed you the trailer, talked about what I thought about it, what I saw in the trailer, and basically gave you some of my overall impressions of it. I hope you guys are doing good. I hope you guys are staying happy and staying blessed. Check out some of my other videos over on YouTube and Rumble, and hit me up over on X and let me know what you thought. I will see you guys in the next video and in the next stream. Laters.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching this episode of the Geek Report. I hope you enjoyed it. If you got a moment, please check out my other video sites as well as my social media and give them a like and follow. I will see you all in the next video and the next stream. Laters.